The wind was sharp in the junkyard. It smelled like rust, burnt metal, and sadness. She sat behind a broken engine, her thin arms wrapped around her shaking knees. Her skin, once glowing silver, was now dull and dirty. Her small body was covered in cuts and dust. She hadn't eaten in 3 days. Her stomach felt like fire, and her throat was dry like old sand. She didn't even know what planet this was. She just knew it wasn't home. Her planet was destroyed, her people gone or sold. The last time someone touched her, they shoved her into a trader ship like cargo. She escaped when their ship landed for fuel. She thought she was free. But now, she was just alone. She heard voices. The traders had returned. Their ship hummed in the sky, black and loud, landing at the far side of the junkyard. She knew what they wanted. They were looking for anything that could be sold. Junk, scrap, and slaves. She stood up slowly. Her legs almost gave up. But she forced herself to move. Her hands were trembling as she picked up an old cloth and tied it around her body. She walked toward the trader ship, step by step, like a ghost. If they saw her, they'd take her. And that would mean food, a place to sleep. Even if it was a cage. Her heart beat fast. Her voice was weak, but she spoke. "I'm here," she said. "You can sell me." But no one noticed. The traders were too busy yelling at each other. They threw scrap into crates, arguing about prices. She stood there, in the open, her voice rising again. "I'm not hiding. You can take me, please." One trader glanced her way, then turned around and laughed. "Not even worth 5 credits, he said. Her chest tightened. She wasn't even worth that. She dropped to her knees. Her hands hit the ground. Her eyes filled with tears. She had nothing left to offer, except her body. Just then, a shadow fell across her. She looked up. A man stood there. A human, tall, with a tired face, brown skin, and dark eyes that didn't look cruel but not soft either. He didn't wear armor or carry weapons. Just old boots, dusty pants, and a tool belt. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just stared at her. She quickly stood up again, pulling the cloth tighter around herself. Her voice cracked. "Don't turn me in," she said. "Please. I'll give you anything. I'll give you my body." The man's face didn't change. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. But he did one thing she didn't expect. He took off his coat and placed it around her shoulders. The cloth was warm. It smelled like old oil and something safe. She blinked. Why did you do that?" He finally spoke. "Because you're cold." That was all he said. Then he turned and walked away. She stood there, confused. Was it a trick? Was he baiting her? Maybe he was a richer trader, playing games before taking her. But her legs moved anyway. She followed him. He didn't look back. He walked through the edge of the junkyard and into the outer colony. People passed by, glancing at her, but no one stopped him. When they reached a small house made of scrap metal and wood, he opened the door and let her in. Inside it was quiet. A small heater buzzed in the corner. The room was clean but simple. No chains, no cages, no cameras. He pointed to a chair. "Sit," he said. She did. He placed a bowl in front of her. Soup. Real soup. Steam rose from it. Her hands shook as she grabbed the spoon. "Is it drugged?" she asked. He looked at her. "No." She sniffed it. Then slowly she ate. Every bite felt like heaven. Her eyes watered again, not from fear but from something new. Something warm. He sat across the room watching silently. Not staring, just making sure she didn't fall. She finished the bowl. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He stood up, grabbed a blanket, and handed it to her. "You can sleep here tonight," he said. "Bathroom is that way. You're safe." Then he walked to the next room and closed the door behind him. She sat there alone, clutching the blanket, the warmth still inside her chest. For the first time in her life, No one had asked her for anything in return. No trade. No deal, no price. Just kindness. And she didn't know what to do with that. Asterisk. The girl didn't sleep much that night. She sat in the corner of the warm room, wrapped in the blanket like it was armor. Every sound made her flinch. The quiet hum of the heater, the soft wind outside, even the silence of the man in the next room. She didn't understand him. She had seen humans before, many kinds. The ones who bought, who used, who traded. And the ones who looked away, but never like this one. He didn't ask her name. Didn't tell her his. Didn't even ask how she ended up half dead in a junkyard. He just helped. And that scared her. More than anything. In the morning, she sat on the edge of the chair waiting. If this was a trap, this was the moment it would spring. The moment where kindness ends and demands begin. She heard the door open. He walked in holding a small metal box. He placed it on the table. Inside were soft clothes. Simple. Clean. You can wash first, he said, nodding toward the other room. Then change. She stared at the clothes, then at him. Why are you doing this? She asked again. He didn't reply. Just turned and walked to the kitchen. She followed his direction and stepped into the small washroom. The water was warm. It stung her skin, but she didn't stop. Dirt ran down the drain like melted shadows. Her silver skin glowed again, just a little. She dressed slowly. The clothes felt strange, too soft, too free. When she returned, a plate of food was waiting on the table. She sat, ate quietly. He drank something from a metal cup and stared out the window. Finally she spoke. I know what you want. He looked at her. You helped me, fed me, gave me clothes, she said. Her voice trembled, but she forced it out. So take what you want now. He didn't respond. She stood up, pulled the blanket from her shoulders, revealing the thin fabric beneath. I'll give you my body. Just don't turn me in, please. The man's face didn't twist with hunger like the trader's. He didn't grin or reach for her. Instead, he looked angry. Not at her but at the words she spoke. He stood up slowly. Put the blanket back on. She froze. His voice was not loud, but it felt powerful. Like stone. She quickly wrapped herself again. Man stepped closer. No one here wants your body. Tears filled her eyes. Then why are you helping me? Because you shouldn't have to beg to be human, he said. She didn't understand. She sat back down, shivering again, but not from cold. From the feeling inside her chest. It was new. Like fear and safety were crashing into each other. Others weren't like you, she whispered. They looked at me like I was food. He nodded slowly. I know. Then why? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he pulled something from the wall. A small picture frame. Inside was a photo, faded, but still bright. A human girl. Maybe 9 or 10, smiling. Brown eyes like his. Hair tied with colored bands. She died, he said simply. Sold by someone who promised to protect her. The silence filled the room. Again, the alien girl looked at the photo, then at him. I'm not her, she said softly. I know, he replied. But no one helped her, and I won't make that mistake again. She didn't speak after that. The rest of the day passed slowly. She helped him clean a few tools. He taught her how to use a small repair light. No chains, no orders. Just tasks. Simple things that made her feel like maybe she wasn't worthless. That night, she sat at the window, staring at the stars. He walked past her, a cup of hot broth in hand. He stopped and placed it beside her. She looked up. If I leave, will you stop me? No, he said. Freedom means you choose. She didn't know what freedom felt like. But maybe this was a beginning. The girl didn't trust quiet places. Where she came from, silence meant danger. Silence meant someone was watching, planning, waiting to strike. But this house was always quiet. No shouting. No keys turning. No guards walking by with tasers. Just the soft hum of the heater and the occasional sound of tools being moved in the next room. And it scared her. Each morning, she opened her eyes expecting a chain around her ankle or a lock on the door. But nothing was there. She would touch the door softly. It opened every time. Free. Too free. It didn't feel real. She still didn't know the human's name. He didn't ask hers either. He just let her be, gave her food, showed her how to heat water, told her where the extra blankets were. He didn't talk much. But when he did, his words were simple, honest, that made her more afraid, because she didn't know how to exist without pain, without someone owning her, without someone using her. So she kept testing him. She broke a plate on purpose. He picked up the pieces, silently, and asked if she was hurt. She shouted at him once, screamed all the ugly words she had learned from the traders. He didn't yell back. He just waited until she was done, then asked if she wanted soup. One day, she tried to leave. She walked all the way to the edge of the colony. The street was full of strange eyes, some human, some alien, but all full of suspicion. She passed the marketplace, and two traders looked right at her. One of them whispered, "Isn't that the girl from?" She didn't wait to hear the rest. She ran back to the house. The man was fixing a small drone in the yard. She didn't say anything. She just walked past him, back inside, heart racing. He didn't ask questions. That made it worse. That night she searched the house, looking for a collar, a tracker, a secret communicator to the slavers. She found a locked drawer. Her hands shook as she picked it open with a pin. Inside were old photos, the same girl from before, the human's daughter, laughing in a field of yellow grass, holding a small alien creature like a pet, standing beside a woman, his wife, all gone now. Her fingers touched one photo that was torn in half. The missing piece had clearly been ripped away. Her hands trembled. She closed the drawer. The next morning, she waited by the table. When the man came out of his room, she looked straight at him. "I broke into your drawer," she said. He paused. "Okay." He replied. "That's it?" she asked. He sat down. "What do you want me to say?" She lowered her eyes. "You should be angry." He nodded. "Maybe." "Then why aren't you?" "Because I've lived with bigger losses than a broken lock." She stared at him. He reached into his pocket and took out a small necklace, a chain with a tiny glowing crystal. "My daughter wore this," he said. He slid it across the table to her. "She would have liked you." The girl couldn't breathe for a second. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. Not as property, not as trouble, but like she mattered. "I'm not like her," she whispered. "I know," he said, "but you're still here. That means something." She held the necklace gently. For the first time in her life, her hands shook not from fear, but from something else, a feeling she had no name for. Later that day, he gave her something even more shocking than food or warmth: work. "Can you hold this while I fix the panel?" he asked, handing her a tool. She stared at it like it might explode. "You trust me with this?" He shrugged. "Why not?" They spent hours fixing the broken drone. She didn't know what half the parts were, but he explained. Patient, calm, he let her mess up. He let her try again. When they got it working, she smiled without realizing. And he smiled back, just a little. That night, she didn't sleep in the corner. She slept on the bed, not because she was told to, but because, finally, it felt safe. Still kept her eyes open for a while. Old habits were hard to kill, but for the first time she wondered something strange. What if this place was real? What if this man didn't want to own her, but simply wanted her to live? Could a home have no chains? She didn't believe it, not yet, but her heart, broken as it was, started to whisper. Maybe. The sky turned red that morning. Not from danger, just a dusty sunrise. But to her, it felt like a warning. The girl stood outside the small house, holding a scrap part from the drone they'd repaired yesterday. The man was fixing something on the roof, humming softly. She looked up. "Does the sky always turn this color?" she asked. "Only when the wind shifts from the southeast," he replied to him. It was normal, but for her, every color, every sound, every shadow still carried fear. She hadn't told him the truth. Not all of it. She had escaped from a trader ship. Yes, but she hadn't just slipped away. She had fled, and they would come looking. They always did. Later that day, she went into the market. The man had asked her to pick up a small package, some old tech parts delivered from the neighboring colony. She felt braver now. Wrapped in real clothes, walking with purpose, she kept her head down but listened to everything. Humans talked loudly. She caught words like repairs, credits, and plasma shortages. No one paid her much attention until she heard a voice, sharp, cold, familiar. "I'm telling you, she was spotted here. Silver skin, young, alone." Her heart dropped. She turned, slowly. Two traders stood near a supply stall. One was checking a data pad. The other was describing her. "I want her alive," the taller one said. The buyer paid triple. "She's not just a runaway. She's a prize." They hadn't seen her yet. She backed away carefully, turning down an alley, but her foot hit a loose piece of scrap metal. Clang. Both heads snapped in her direction. There. She ran, her lungs burned as she dodged between crates and crowds. A human merchant shouted as she bumped past his stand. A child cried as she shoved through a food line. The traders were fast, but not as fast as fear. She burst through the colony gate and sprinted down the hill toward the old workshop. The man was outside, loading scrap into a bin. He looked up. She didn't stop running until she slammed into him. "They're here," she gasped. "They saw me. They're coming." His hands didn't tremble. His face didn't change. He simply nodded. Then he said 4 words she never expected. "Go inside. Stay hidden." He moved like someone who had done this before. Quiet. Precise. She watched through the window, crouched low behind a table, her heart thudding in her ears. Minutes passed. Then came voices. "Nice little place you've got here." One trader said. The man didn't reply. "We're looking for someone," the other sighed. "Female, silver skin, escaped property." The man crossed his arms. "Don't know her." They laughed. "Come on, she ran this way." "You hiding her?" Silence. Then the man spoke calm but sharp. "You're not welcome here." "Maybe not," said the taller trader, stepping closer. "But we're paid to find her, so we'll search, with or without your permission." The girl held her breath. She reached for the small tool beside her. Not a weapon, but sharp enough to cut. If they opened the door, she would fight. She didn't care if she lost. She wasn't going back, but then she heard a sound that stopped her cold. The click of a human rifle. "You take 1 step toward my house," the man said outside, "and I'll take 1 step toward burying you." The traders froze. "You wouldn't." "Shoot," one muttered. "Try me." The moment stretched. Then footsteps backed away. "Fine," the shorter one hissed. "But we'll be back. And next time, you won't be alone." "Neither will I," the man replied. The silence returned. The girl opened the door slowly. He stood in the yard, the rifle still in his hands, eyes watching the road. "They'll come back," she whispered. "I know," he said. "You should have given me to them." He turned toward her, face firm. "I don't give people." She stepped out into the open. "Then I should leave. They'll hurt you if I stay." He looked down at her, calm, steady. "You didn't run when they chased you," he said. "So why would I run now?" Her chest tightened. "No one's ever fought for me," she said. He nodded. "Well, someone should have." They stood in silence under the red sky. And for the first time, she didn't feel like a slave hiding from the world. She felt like a person someone chose to protect, not because of what she offered, but because of who she was. 3 days passed. The girl no longer flinched at the creak of floorboards. She helped cook, fixed broken wires, and sometimes when she thought he wasn't looking, smiled. But that morning, the wind changed again. It blew hot and dry, the kind that made the colony streets feel tense. People walked faster, closed doors quicker. Something was coming, and they both felt it. The man handed her a small pouch of tools. "Stay inside today," he said. She nodded, but deep inside, she knew hiding wouldn't stop what was coming. She peeked through the window. The traders had returned. But this time, they weren't alone. Behind them stood armored men. Hired muscle, guns on their belts. Cold eyes that had seen too many coins and too few reasons. They walked through the colony like they owned it. Some people moved aside. Some didn't even look up. Everyone knew what happened when traders came with soldiers. They stopped in front of the man's home. The leader, tall, scarred, and full of fake politeness, stepped forward. "We're here for the girl," he said. The man stood in the yard, calm as always. "She's not here." "Don't lie. She's yours, isn't she?" "No," the man replied. "She's not mine." The trader smiled, smug. "Then you won't mind when we take her." The man's next words were quiet, but sharp like a blade. "She's not mine, but she's not yours either." The trader frowned. "She's property. She escaped. We have rights." The man stepped forward. "No, you have papers. I have reason." The soldiers reached for their weapons, but the man didn't move. He didn't even raise his voice. "She's under my name now," he said. "Registered as a citizen of this colony. She works. She eats. She lives." The trader blinked. "That's impossible. I filed the papers 3 nights ago. Got the governor's stamp. She's under human protection now. You forged it." "Call him," the man said. "Ask." The trader hesitated. He wasn't used to resistance. "She's not even your kind," he growled. "She's alive," the man replied. "That's enough." The girl watched from the window, heart pounding. She had never belonged anywhere. But now, she did. And not as a slave. Not as a servant. As a person. With a name, the trader stepped forward again. "I'll pay you double, triple." "No." "Fine, you want her? Keep her. But remember, what you protect comes at a cost." The man's eyes didn't blink. "I'm not afraid of cost. Only regret." The trader spat on the ground and turned away. But before leaving, he gave the girl one last look. "You're lucky," he said. "But luck runs out." She stared back, not speaking. The soldiers followed, boots crunching the dirt as they left. The man stood still until their ship lifted and disappeared into the sky. Only then did he exhale. The girl stepped out slowly. "They'll come back," she said. He nodded. "Probably. And when they do, I'll be here," he said. "And so will you." She lowered her head. "You didn't have to do that. Risk everything." "Yes, I did." "Why?" He looked at her, not as an object, not as a mission, but as a soul. "Because you were never for sale," he said. "Not then, not now." She didn't speak. She just stepped forward. And for the first time, hugged him. He didn't pull away. And in that quiet moment, under the same sky that once held her fear, she found something she never thought she'd have again. A place, a home, and someone who saw her as more than survival. Someone who saw her as family. Asterisk. The days after the standoff passed quietly. Too quietly. The girl waited for the sound of ships, boots, threats, but none came. Instead, the only sounds she heard were the soft buzz of tools, the warm hiss of tea on the stove, and her own voice trying new words, asking questions, learning things no one had ever thought she needed to know. She had spent her life learning how to survive. Now she was learning something harder, how to live. One morning, the man handed her a worn-out data pad. She looked at it, confused. "What is this?" "School," he said simply. Her hands froze. I don't know how to read your language." You'll learn, he said. You already learned to fix wires. This is no different. She stared at the blinking screen, then back at him. Why? Because knowledge isn't for sale either. It started slowly. She learned letters, then sounds, then words. She wrote her name for the first time, not the code the traders gave her, but the name she chose. One she made herself. Every night she read out loud. At first she stumbled. Then she flowed. He listened without laughing. Sometimes he corrected her. Sometimes he just nodded and said, "Good." Each word she spoke felt like a piece of her own chains breaking. She learned about planets, stars, history. But most of all, she learned what kindness looked like when it had no price tag. He never treated her like a project, or a charity case, or a replacement for the daughter he lost. He treated her like someone who mattered. One day, she fixed a broken link without help. When she showed him, he smiled. Not big, just enough. "You did this?" he asked. She nodded. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're ready to work for real wages." Her eyes widened. "I can't be paid. I'm not. You're registered now. You've got rights." She didn't know what to say. He added softly, "You've earned this." She worked at a nearby shop, small repairs, light wiring, battery replacements. Some customers looked at her silver skin with curiosity. Others looked with disgust, but no one touched her. No one yelled. And when they tried, the shop owner, a tough old woman, chased them out with a wrench. "You break her spirit, I break your jaw." She once shouted at a rude buyer. The girl smiled for a whole week after that. She started laughing more. Not fake laughter to please someone. Real laughter. Once, she found a baby bird stuck between two solar panels. Its wing was broken. She brought it home, cleaned it, and kept it in a small box with a soft towel. "It's ugly," the man said. She frowned. "It's trying." "Like I did." He chuckled. "Fair enough." When it healed and flew away, she didn't cry. She just smiled and whispered, "Good luck, little thing." That night, she stood outside the house, watching the stars. He joined her, holding 2 cups of warm broth. She took hers with quiet thanks. "I thought freedom would feel bigger," she said. "It's not always loud," he replied. "Sometimes it's just having your own cup, and no one taking it from you." She sipped slowly. "You know," she said softly, "I never thought I'd live this long." "You almost didn't," she nodded. "But you gave me a second chance." He looked at her. "You took it. I only opened the door." They stood there in silence. The kind of silence that didn't scare her anymore. Then she turned to him. "I want to help others," she said. "The way you helped me. The way no one else ever did." He looked surprised. Then proud. "You already are," he said. She smiled. And in that smile was a girl who had once begged to be sold just to eat. Now she was learning to feed others, not with food, but with hope. 2 cycles had passed. The colony had grown. New buildings, cleaner streets, better lights, more hope. And the girl who once hid in the shadows? She now walked in the open, head high, step strong. People didn't whisper about her anymore. They listened to her, because she had become more than a survivor. She had become a symbol. In the center of the colony stood a small building with bright blue lights. Not fancy, not grand. But full of warmth. A place where lost ones came, runaways, escaped slaves, broken aliens with tired eyes and silent mouths. It was called the Shelter of Voice, and she ran it. Inside, no one asked for a price. No one demanded anything. They offered food, clothes, safety, and something rarer than all that, understanding. One day, a young alien girl with green-tinted skin arrived. Her hands trembled. She had no shoes. Her back had scars. The staff moved to help her, but she refused. Then she stepped forward. The silver-skinned woman, no longer a fragile shadow. Now dressed in soft armor, her face calm, her voice steady. She knelt in front of the girl and whispered, "I know what it's like to be seen as a thing. The girl didn't speak. I know what. It's like to give your body away, just so someone won't hurt you. Still silence, then slowly. The young girl broke into tears and fell into her arms. Later that night, she sat alone on the rooftop of the center, staring at the stars. She heard footsteps. The man, the human who had once given her a blanket instead of chains, stood beside her. He looked older now, slower, but still the same. I heard about the rescue, he said. She nodded. That girl, she whispered. She reminds me of who I was. You were never weak, he said. I was broken. But you healed. She looked at him, eyes glowing softly under the moonlight. You saved me. No, he replied. You saved yourself. I just gave you a place to begin. She smiled. Then maybe that's all anyone ever needs. He pulled something from his pocket. A badge, metal, simple, with her name on it. They want you to join the colony council, he said. You'd be the first non-human. She stared at the badge, like it was fire. I'm not like them, she said. You're better, he said, because you remember what it's like to be forgotten. She held the badge in her hand, not because she wanted power, but because she knew what it meant. It meant no one else would be silenced, that no one else would be sold and forgotten. She stood at the next council meeting. Her voice, once shaky and small, now filled the room. I was once nothing, she said. A body for sale, a mouth shut by fear, a name no one wanted to hear. The room was silent, but one human gave me something I'd never known a choice. She looked out across the crowd, human, alien, all kinds. And now I choose to protect others like me, not because I have to, but because I can. The vote was unanimous. She became the first alien voice in human politics on that planet. Later that night, as she returned to her small home, she found something waiting on the table. A box. Inside it was the same cloth blanket he once gave her. Old, worn, but still warm. She held it close to her chest. And for the first time in years, she cried again. Not from pain, not from fear, but from something greater purpose. Because once, she was just a body traders didn't even value. Now she was a name that echoed across the colony. A protector, a leader, a living proof that kindness changes everything.